This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1842. Why Create an Emergency Fund? Part 1 by Rieckens of playingwithfire.co. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. I have a bit of a longer post today. I'll read the first half today and then finish the rest for you tomorrow. So let's dive into the first half and start optimizing your life. Why Create an Emergency Fund? Part 1 by Rieckens of playingwithfire.co. I'll never forget the day my Jeep Wrangler broke down on the side of a 6-lane highway on my way to work. I had enough momentum to get myself over to the shoulder. Luckily, we had AAA, so the tow was covered, but the fix on the Jeep was going to be around $2,000. I needed the vehicle to get to work to pay for the fix. We had the money, but it was just going to drain our account down further than we felt comfortable, and we considered putting the expense on a credit card. This was an emergency. Life is a crazy ride, and you never quite know what the future will hold. That's why it's important to create an emergency fund so that you're prepared for unknown future events that won't derail your path to financial independence. The best way to create an emergency fund is to open a high-interest savings account that's dedicated to that purpose only. That way, you have some money kept aside for whenever you need it in an emergency. Many things can happen that may result in you needing money in an instant. For example, your car may break down, you encounter an unexpected medical event, or your home's water heater may stop working in the middle of winter. These are all things that will need to be sorted out quickly, and you'll need money to do so. Keeping an emergency fund will ensure that you're always ready for anything that might happen. What's an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a sum of money that you set aside specifically to help you deal with all of the unexpected things that life throws at you. It's not money that should be spent on things like holidays or a new car. Instead, it should be kept separate from your regular spending money and only used in very rare cases of emergency. Having money set aside for unexpected fees that may pop up will help to relieve a lot of stress if the situation arises where you need some money for an emergency fast. How much should you save in an emergency fund? There's really no right or wrong answer to this question, as it depends entirely on your circumstances. The amount you keep aside will depend on a few things, such as how much you earn, how much you spend monthly, and how much you expect common emergencies to cost. Things you should consider when deciding the amount. Your best course of action is to begin by analyzing your current earnings and spending so you can figure out how much you can reasonably put away each month towards your emergency fund. This will allow you to calculate how long it will take you to get to your goal savings amount. To quickly analyze your monthly profit and loss, we love using Personal Capital. Their free app makes it easy to keep track of your spending, investments, and even analyzes what kinds of fees you're paying on your investments. Next, you should consider financial conundrums that may arise due to your lifestyle, circumstances, etc., and figure out how much you would have to spend in that particular situation. This will help you come up with your goal savings amount so that you know what you're aiming for. Once you've calculated your average monthly expenses and taking into consideration any known variables that may arise, medical conditions, old vehicles, or home appliances within a few years of major repair, etc., you'll have a better understanding of how much you'll need to save in total. You can start putting money away each month towards your goal. For our emergency fund, we like to keep roughly 6 months worth of monthly expenses in a high-interest savings account. This allows us the peace of mind that if something were to happen to our jobs, we would have half a year to create new income streams. It's also enough to cover the most common unexpected expenses that might otherwise derail your savings and investing goals. This account should be readily accessible, so make sure there are high daily withdrawal amounts. This way, you can get access to the money quickly in case of an emergency. Now it's time to start saving. Even if you only put a small amount of money away to begin with, it's still a step in the right direction so that you're prepared for anything that might happen and cost you money. For some, the emergency fund is the first savings goal to tackle. In our experience, fully funding our emergency fund was the first time we truly felt financial freedom wash over us. Of course, if you have high interest debt, that is the first emergency we recommend you tackle. Also, if you're paying high fees on your current investments, you'll want to read our post about investment fees and what they can do to your FI plan. Wherever you are on your path to financial independence, having a savings plan will help with all of these issues and get you on your way to a happier, healthier life. Here's an overview of how you can determine how much to save in your emergency fund. Consider your monthly earnings. Consider your average monthly expenses and how much you think you can put away each month. Consider some likely events that may cost you, like car repairs, home repairs, medical events, etc. And determine how many months of expenses saved will cover you financially and emotionally. To be continued. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled Why Create an Emergency Fund by Scott Rieckens of playingwithfire.co. Having cash on hand has so many more benefits than just helping you navigate the unexpected things life throws at you. I like to refer to my cash position as my emergency/opportunity fund because I recognize that life is throwing me opportunities just as much as it's throwing obstacles at me. And having that cash on hand has allowed me to make pivots painlessly. So for example, last year I quit my job due to an unanticipated situation with my employer. I didn't plan for it, but it was an opportunity that presented itself, and I was able to take on the risk of self-employment because I had and still have a long cash runway. I've heard some personal finance bloggers make the case for not having as much cash on hand because it could be working harder for you if you invested it. And if you really come into a situation where you need cash, you could just sell some investments. The reason why I don't do this is because I think it would cause me to watch my investments much more and stress over volatility. It would be uncomfortable to have to sell stocks during a downturn just because I didn't have cash on hand. Also, I look at my different piles of money as all having different jobs. My cash has the job of liquidity and easy access, and my investments have the job of growth. I don't care that my cash isn't growing because that's not its job. And as my overall net worth grows, my cash as a percentage of my net worth gets smaller and smaller over time. So it continues to matter less and less that my cash isn't growing. Well, that should do it for today. Have a happy rest of your day and a great weekend. And I'll see you tomorrow where we'll finish up this post and where your optimal life awaits.